in Ramadan, you recited the entire Quran in Ramadan. Okay, great. Is the Quran only for Ramadan? No, absolutely not. Okay. What's stopping you from reciting the entire Quran cover to cover every month of the year? It's a lack of sabr. Call it discipline, call it persistence, call it whatever you want. Ultimately, you don't have the discipline to turn up every day and do the same thing again and again. You can call it persistence, discipline. This is a form of sabr. The ability to control your desire for laziness, for relaxation, for skipping the next salah, for skipping the thing you have to do. Procrastination, all of this is the antithesis, the opposite of sabr. Postponing something tomorrow, day after tomorrow, this is all against sabr. So discipline is one form of sabr. Being able to take, like I said, the decree of Allah when something bad happens and control your reaction, this is part of sabr. The third part of sabr that Ibn al-Qayyim talks about is as-sabru ala al-muharramat aw al-dhunub. There's three big challenges that we see in the world today that are solved by today's session, which is looking at the manzilatul sabr, the development of sabr. Before we jump into that, I'm going to ask you all a very tricky question. How will you define the word sabr in the Arabic language? Let's see what you guys have to say. How do you define sabr in the Arabic language? Patience, we got that one out the way. No one can say that again now, yeah? Okay, yes. Okay, being content with the decree of Allah, that's one form of it, not the whole picture. Anybody else? Sorry? Contentment? Sorry? Okay, go for it. Tahammul, so tolerance. Yes. Sorry? Accepting. Yes, you had your hand up. To stay firm with anything that's happening. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, the first thing is the definition. Sabr is not patience. Let's get that one out the way. Any Quran translation you look at, anything Hadith translation you look at, it's going to say sabr is patience. It's not patience. Patience is one form of it, one angle of it, one manifestation, but it's not the whole picture. The best way I can explain sabr is self-control. Is what? Self-control. What is sabr? You guys are sleeping already. It's not even 9 o'clock. What is sabr? Self-control. Okay, let me explain what is sabr and why would I refer to it as self-control. In the Arabic language, they say as-sabru habsun nafs. Sabr is to be able to contain or confine or trap your ego or your desire from what it wants. And this can come in many forms. One of the forms is when something bad happens to you, rather than breaking down and tearing your hair out, you have to control your reaction and control your response, measure your response. That's one form of self-control. Another form of sabr, or another of the ways in which you can have sabr, is as-sabru ala al-ibadat. To be consistent with your acts of worship. So you came to oftentimes, for example, in Ramadan, you recited the entire Quran in Ramadan. Okay, great. Is the Quran only for Ramadan? No, absolutely not. Okay. What's stopping you from reciting the entire Quran cover to cover every month of the year? It's a lack of sabr. Call it discipline, call it persistence, call it whatever you want. Ultimately, you don't have the discipline to turn up every day and do the same thing again and again. You can call it persistence, discipline. This is a form of sabr. The ability to control your desire for laziness, for relaxation, for skipping the next salah, for skipping the thing you have to do. Procrastination, all of this is the antithesis, the opposite of sabr. Postponing something tomorrow, day after tomorrow, this is all against sabr. So discipline is one form of sabr. Being able to take, like I said, the decree of Allah when something bad happens and control your reaction, this is part of sabr. The third part of sabr that Ibn al-Qayyim talks about is as-sabru ala al-muharramat aw al-dhunub. The ability to say no to something that's tempting you, one of the sins that's tempting you, right? So you're walking the street. Today I was actually driving in Longside. Al-'iyadhu billah, I saw a very vulgar advertisement, okay? Complete R-rated in the middle of the road. May Allah protect our kids and our eyes and your eyes. Somebody else driving with such a big billboard right in front, they might swerve and hit something. But they can't control, they can't say no to themselves, their desire, the temptation. Temptation is like a raging beast. It's like a hunger for food. If it pulls you, it's a gnawing pain that echoes through your system. You can't say no to it. Yes, you all feel it when it's Ramadan and people are fasting, the first day of the fast. You touch somebody and he jumps. You say, oh, what happened? I'm fasting. Yeah, Habib, khalas. What's the problem? Okay, he's like, his hormones are not in the right place. He's not mentally not in the right place. Why? I'm not eating food. The fact that he had to say no to something that this person had every single day is paining them. And this is the third type of patience. So to recap what I just said, there's three types of patience. or three manifestations. The first is the discipline to keep doing good deeds again and again consistently. This requires discipline, persistence to go, fight procrastination, all of these things. The second type of patience is being patient of sabr, being accepting and content when something really bad happens to you in life, something unexpected happens, uncertainty. You need the self-restraint, the self-control to deal with it, to control your response. And the third form of self-control is being able to say no to something that's really tempting you. You want it, you desire it, you wish you could have it, but you still say no. These are the three forms of patience that Ibn al-Qayyim mentions in Madarij as-Salikin. Now, there's also three big problems in the world today that only sabr can solve. No self-development book, not 7 habits, not atomic habits, not patience, not discipline is the way. None of these books can solve these problems because you need sabr, which has a spiritual root. What are the three problems? The first problem is emotional fragility. People today, they're so weak. The smallest thing that happens to them, finish. I'm a victim, I'm traumatized, the world is terrible. It's all about feelings. If I feel it, the feeling is real. There's isolation. So this is the first thing. It's a big challenge in the world we live in today. People are unable to take difficulty. Oftentimes you'll hear people from previous generations saying, son, get up, go open the door. No, I don't feel like it. We don't feel like it. In our time, when my father told me to travel to China, I would walk to China. Okay, we get it. What is the point? The point is that previous generations, they were willing to do a lot, put up with a lot more difficulty. But the generation we're seeing now is a very fragile generation. They cannot take anything without just collapsing. Second one is the destruction of discipline. Because of the level of distraction in the world, because of TikTok, because of social media, because of mobile devices, because of everything can be delivered to your door and Uber can come to your door and everything is convenient and easy. People have lost the ability to work hard for something. People have lost the idea, in order for me to achieve something, I have to do it every day for 6,000 days, 5,000 days in a row. That kind of discipline is something we don't see anymore. You want to see it, you have to go to Mauritania or Somalia, or you have to go to another, where you see people waking up at Fajr every day, memorizing the Quran, day in, day out, day in, day out. Consistency in the UK, like if you see somebody at Fajr 4 days in a row, you can hold a celebration for them. It's an amazing feat. It's not something that's very commonly seen, right? Why is it that this is such a big problem today? Because of instant gratification. What is instant gratification? It is, I know when I open my eyes in the morning, if I pull out my smartphone, immediately the chemicals in my body will get really excited, watch a few videos. I immediately reward myself. But to pull off the blanket, the duvet, and go and do wudu, and in the cold, go to the masjid, the reward is later. Whereas me enjoying something now, the reward is right now. We live in a generation where people are obsessed with feeling the reward now, and they cannot wait for the reward that is to come later. The third problem, so I said the first problem is fragility, emotional fragility. People are not able to keep control of their emotions. The second one is the lack of discipline, the destruction of discipline, distraction, social media, low attention spans, loss of discipline. The third one is victimization to trauma. These days, when something bad happens to somebody, they are told, this is trauma. Trauma literally means something blunt has hit you. A physical object has smashed you in the face. This is what trauma literally means. And immediately they are told you are a victim, you are, traumatized, you are going to have all these disorders, you're in a terrible situation, you need medication, you need therapy, and you're given this message like you are the most miskeen victim on the planet, and there's no other way to see what has happened to you. What has this led to? This has led to people being over-dependent on medication, over-dependent on therapy, over-dependent on these ideas, and they never think to themselves, I can get myself out of this if only I did X, Y, Z. They are constantly in this loop of victimizing themselves. Now, what is the way out of this? The first and most important part of building sabr. So now we talked, what is the definition of sabr? Everybody still with me. What's the definition of sabr? Self-control. 3 forms of sabr. Who can tell me? What's the 3 forms of sabr? Discipline. Okay, so sabr, to continue doing something good consistently. Second one, dealing with difficulties, controlling your response. How do I respond to something bad? Third one, saying no to something that's tempting you. Okay, side point before we continue. Of these 3 forms, which is the greatest form? Now, I'm going to tell you where I'm going to get the answer from. In the story of Yusuf alayhi salam has sabr with all these 3 types. So he has to keep being God conscious and keep doing good, whether he's in the prison or the well or the palace. So he's consistent and disciplined with his good deeds. He's tempted by the woman in the palace. and he says no to her. And he's thrown into horrible situations, and his reaction is he is patient with these situations. He shows all three forms. Okay. Now here's the question. Which is the greatest form of patience? All the things that I want you to give me example from the life of Yusuf alayhi salam. Was it how he responded in the well? Was it the forgiveness of his brothers? Was it the way he said no to the woman in the palace? Was it the way he helped the men in the prison? Which incident in his life is the greatest form of sabr? Yalla, think. Sorry? Saying no to the woman, why? Okay, you're saying there's 7 people under the shade of Allah. One of them is someone who was tempted by a woman and said no. Okay, what else? Yes. No, Sheikh, that's cheating. You can't say all of them mixed together. All of the above, that wasn't one of the options. Okay, khalas, go for it. Allah, you're a dangerous guy. Allah. Okay, you're saying that it's a combination of all of these forms of patience. Are you saying that when he said no to the woman, he combined multiple forms of patience? Okay, that's a very interesting point. This brother is saying that when he said no to the woman, he has to be consistent on good deeds. He has to say no to temptation, and he has to be patient with the bala, the test that she's giving him. So it kind of combined all three. Any other answers? Yes. At the end, when he forgave his brothers. Why? Because they were the one who harmed him and his response to harm. Anybody else? Last one. Okay, you think it's when he was betrayed from their brothers, and despite the betrayal, he was firm. Okay. In Madarij al-Salikin, the position Ibn Qayyim takes, he says, Qala Shaykh al-Islam. My teacher, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said, the greatest form of patience in all the incidents that Yusuf alayhi salam went through was when he said no to the temptation of the woman. Why? Here's why. All the other situations in his life, was it in his control or not in his control? Did he choose to be in the well? Did he choose to be far from his parents? Did he choose to be thrown in prison? He didn't choose these things. Now, if you didn't choose it, you're kind of forced to accept it regardless of the situation. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Aslan, right? So the patience that the sabr that you have to show when you are forced into a corner is a lesser form of sabr. Now, when he's in front of this woman and he's young, and she's beautiful, and she's wealthy, and she's imposing herself on him, and she's offering herself to him. Now, does he have a choice, or is he forced to accept the situation? He has a choice. He can accept it, right? And still he said no. That is why he said this is the greatest form of sabr, is that you have the option. You have the option to indulge, but still you resist the indulgence. Now, this is just a side point. What is the greatest form of sabr? And it's very relevant to the world that we live in today. We live in a very hypersexualized world. Everything from cartoon characters to advertisements on TV to movies, everywhere you look, there's a level of nudity and exposure and shamelessness that has not been, it's not precedented in the human race for it to ever be like that. You look at, if you go to Manchester Museum in the center, Manchester Science Museum, go look at the cotton mills. The women who were working in the cotton mills in Manchester 100 years ago, what were they wearing? They were wearing hijabs. It's in the city that we're sitting in. Women were wearing hijabs 100, 150 years ago. Very normal part of Victorian culture. Now, the world we live in, the level of, indecency, visual indecency on mobile devices, everywhere you look, is something we've never seen before. So, the ability to say no to something that is tempting is one of the greatest forms of sabr.